All right, God bless you. We are back on this afternoon in hopes of continuing our walk to the book of Acts. Left off with Peter heading north from where Jesus was raised. We know that the Lord Jesus was raised. He was not in that tomb when the women came looking for him with spices. We sought to dig out much from the references to what I just made reference to. And, Peter is clearly heading north as we consider Luke's Gospel, chapter 24 and the verse 12. Peter and the other apostles have been told by the women that Jesus said Galilee is where they would find him. And for me, that's some really interesting details, because the women, if you look at Matthew's account, chapter 24, you find that when the women were just leaving the angels that told them that the Lord would be in Galilee, they headed from where they saw the angels, and all of a sudden the Lord is right there in front of them. Amazing that the Lord would not head straight to Galilee after he was raised. He did tell the close followers of his that Galilee is where he would meet them when he was raised. But interestingly, he tarried in Jerusalem until the women, we don't want to say stumbled upon him, but met him. And the Lord just simply said, all hail. You look at Matthew's account, you see this. It jogs their memory, the Lord saying, all hail. They sort of prostrate themselves before the Lord. If you look closer at that 28th chapter of Matthew, while they're worshiping, the Lord simply says, fear not. Those words sent from the vocal cords of the Lord as they was prostrate in front of them, the women, I'm sure the Lord was seeking to encourage them, to bring them out of their fear, out of their concern, I don't even know what terms to use. You just, know that they were concerned, and they saw the Lord. They probably was beside themselves. The Lord sent word into their ear gate to fear not. And then on the heels of that, he tells them their next orders, their instructions, as they would stand up in front of them. And they were to go and tell the apostles. If you look again, you go to that chapter, Matthew, you see it set forth there very, very clearly. I don't want to haggle about there because I'll be going back, I'll be retracting, but you always want people to be up to speed on the passage. So, from where they're prostrate before the Lord in Matthew 28, verse 10, Jesus says, fear not. And then he gives them their next instructions. You look at verse 10 of Matthew 28. Jesus said unto them, the women, fear not. After he said, fear not, then he says, go tell my brethren. The term, go tell my brethren, those are the next instructions that Jesus is giving these women. And they would need it. Worshiping him, don't know what's going on in their hearts. He seeks to eradicate that fear that was consuming them by simply telling them to fear not. Look closely at the narrative. You can't miss it. Jesus said unto them, fear not. For him to say that, they had to be concerned or fearing something. Jesus would not have told them to fear not if there was not some movement of the spirit of fear working in them. I tell you, the right place that they found themselves was good indeed, because down at the feet of the Lord, worshiping him, I tell you, that drives any fear away. Any concerns that we have going on in our lives presently, if you worship, I tell you, it'll drive that unclean spirit off. At any rate, be that as it may, Jesus tells them, go tell my brethren that they depart into Galilee, and there they shall find me. I'll be right there. Now, for the Lord to tell them that, Jesus would have to head out himself. From where Jesus tells these women this, it's 60 to 70 miles north of where they were. He said, you look at verse 10, Matthew 28, he says, fear not, here are your next instructions. Go tell my brethren that they depart into Galilee. Stop right there. From where Jesus is, right here in Jerusalem, outside the gate of where he was buried and where he was raised. From here, it's about 60 to 70 miles north. And Jesus is telling them, look closely at it, there shall they see me. So Jesus sends them away. They go look for the apostles. They find them. And Jesus had to head to Galilee. I want you to keep that in mind as we go forward. So verse 11 of Luke 24. You need to go to Luke 24 and verse 11. Because here you find that what the Lord told these women, they told the apostles. All right? And verse 11 says, and these words appeared in their sight as idle talk. There is referring to the apostles. So the women did what the Lord told them. They went, found the apostles, told the apostles that the Lord has said that you need to head to Galilee because that's where you'll find it. The words that these women delivered, if you look at the text, they didn't believe it. It says, look closely at it, Luke 24:11, these words appeared in their sight as idle talk, and they disbelieved. Like, what? Be it as it may, that's exactly what happened. Now, the good news is that not all of them disbelieved. Peter got up, it says, and he ran into the tomb. Now, if you look at John's gospel, you'll find out that John, known as the other disciple, he outran Peter to get to that tomb. You have to look at it. You turn there, you'll see it. Be that as it may, the reason why they went is because they wanted to make sure that these women knew what they were talking about. Now, aside from that, I believe that they should not even had to go. If they would have believed that Jesus was raised after he was buried and died, if they would have believed him, they wouldn't have needed to go check the tomb. But be that as it may, we see that they did. Notice closely what the text says. That stooping in, verse 11, Luke 24, and stooping and looking in, they saw the linen clothes by themselves. Those same linen clothes that earlier Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea wrapped the Lord in. Those linen clothes were by themselves, and the reason why is because the Lord was not there. Now stay with me. Notice it says, this is verse 11, Luke chapter 24, verse 12, check that. Verse 12, notice what it says. The linen clothes were by themselves, and he departed to his home. He being Peter. We also believe that the other apostles were with him. Notice it says he departed to his home. Now, if you look at John's Gospel, chapter 1, I want to say it's in the verses that are the 40s. Let me get my Bible really quickly. John's Gospel, chapter 1, verse 44. Listen closely to this. It says, now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Notice it says in our text that he, Peter, departed to his home. Where was his home? According to John 1:44, his home was in Bethsaida. So he would have headed out, and guess where he was going? Galilee. Bethsaida is in the region of Galilee. So Peter is going exactly where these women told him to go. Can you see his faith? You cannot miss that he said, okay, I got it wrong up to this point. I see that the Lord has been raised from the dead. I need to now hightail it to Galilee because the Lord will be there waiting for me. Now, I aforementioned in Matthew's record where the Lord tells the women that they're to tell the apostles that they'll find him in Galilee. Jesus would have had to hightail it to Galilee, 60 to 70 miles north, and wait for the apostles. And I'm telling you right now, he went. You'll see this as we continue to go forward in this narrative. But amazingly, look at the next part of this. So it moves from Luke 24, verse 12. The next order of events is Matthew 28, 11 to 15. Notice the first words in verse 11 of Matthew 28. Now, while they were going where? Where the whole of them, the apostles, they were heading to Galilee because that's where the Lord said that he would wait for them. I need to pause. It's 14 after, and I need to head back in. But God willing, we'll come back right here, and I'm going to dive in right here. I'm not going to spend any time trying to bring us up to speed as to how we got here. We want to pick right back up right here. Read ahead. It is Matthew 28, verses 11 to 15. God bless you, my brother. Hope all is well with you. Mr. Mark, love you tons, man. Need to get back in the building. God bless you. Be encouraged and continue to walk with the Lord, my friend. God bless you.